Shark is never resting.
Tenacious, ferocious. There's always blood in the water, and there's always prey to be had.
Who might tell me about the Shark when it hunts? And the first thing I'm thinking about is my linebacker group. You know, we give our team ownership in what they do. Defensively, they always come up with their names, and this year our linebackers came up with the Sharks mentality, and they want to be Sharks.
When we step foot on the field, we're always trying to eat. We're always trying to take food off of somebody else's plate.
They want to be the aggressors, going after you, and blood is in the water against Syracuse. Seen Kyle McCord throwing it, jumped it. I'm like, oh yeah, it's over with. It's time to go to the crib.
Touchdown!
Fit defense is based a lot on what the linebackers do. You know, that set the tone for the rest of the game. B. George, he called a crazy pick.
Over the middle, it's in the air!
When I saw that ball, I knew that ball was my food and that I was going to go eat.
And when Luke got his pick, we knew what type of day it was.
Intercepted! Touchdown pick! The third pick six of the first half. That's 21 points scored by the defense.
We think that we're the best linebacker core in the country. We all know that we can make a play regardless who's on the field. We're going to hunt one game at a time.
It wouldn't be an ACC huddle without the Sharks.
All right, welcome back to the ACC huddle.
Panthers moving on
Football
to
schedule
2025.
release.
You have to look back at 24. They had a great 7-0 start, and then because of injuries, it tapered off. They lost their final 6, including a crazy overtime battle against Toledo in their bowl game. But you look at the schedule for 25. What do you see? I know you're shaking your head about Toledo, but look, we're moving forward now.
We are moving forward.
the past.
Eli Holstein's going to be a guy. And you look at what Desmond Reed was able to do, one of the most exciting players, in the ACC last year. Excited to see those two guys, what they're going to bring to the table. I don't think Pittsburgh is done in the transfer portal. I think they're going to go after some nasty offensive linemen, kind of add to that room. And just when you see what they're able to bring, that backyard brawl, it's hard not to look at that immediately. That is a bunch of hate in that game. Burning couches, yelling at your mama, telling you you're number one, all those things. That's a fun one. That's a fun, yeah, your mom's too. Not safe.
Wow, that's rough. I'll say this. If they get through the early schedule like they did last year, that's great. But at the end, they got troubles again. Notre Dame at Georgia Tech and Miami is a tough way to finish. But I will say, I do like how the open dates are spaced out better.
I agree.
I think that's going to be helpful for them. But they got some work to do for sure.
Yeah, and that middle chunk too, we got Louisville at home, Boston College at home, FSU on the road, Syracuse on the road, tough environments there. Potentially those teams are still good. NC State at home, and then Stanford on the road. So I think the big key for like most of these teams, can you stay healthy? Because that was the issue for Eli Holstein throughout most of the season. But yeah, I like the open dates where they are too, Coach.
We did get a good sample size of Eli Holstein. EJ, what did you like about his quarterback play and how he can get better?
It's funny you said that. I had a teammate that used to call me that. Seriously, it was great. Love him, Lee Smith. No, it's all good. It's
Shout out Lee Smith.
Yeah, it's
From Powell, Tennessee.
It's all good.
Oh, Lee.
I loved it, man. Anyways, I like that Eli was competitive.
Yeah.
For real. Like, that was kind of the thing that I enjoyed about his gameplay. Like, yeah, he could throw it, and every kid can throw at this level. But I felt like his grit and his toughness and the ability to take off and run, put a shoulder down, I think that kind of gave them an identity on offense. And truthfully, Coach, him finding his check down, which was Desmond Reed. We were talking about check downs before we started the show. I think that was somewhat of a heady play by him as a young quarterback. Because a lot of guys, when you're a freshman, you want to throw the ball deep. And it seemed like later in the season, he started doing that more, forcing it a little bit more further down the field, which didn't always work out. So as long as he gets back to, playing the game the right way with K. Bell, giving the ball to his running backs, I think things will happen.
As you know, some reads are high to low.
Sure.
And so if you're slower processing information because you're young, you're looking deep, you're looking intermediate, and you never get to the low one because you held the ball too long, you got sacked, got the ball knocked out. But I think the quarterback who knows when to cut bait on the primary and dump it to the back and give that guy a little bit of space.
Playing the position.
You can never be wrong.
And you had those 300-yard games early.
Correct.
Back to back to back.
And a couple comebacks, some big comebacks.
Yeah, and you start chasing a big play. And I feel like he learned from that rough stretch. A couple injuries here and there as well, but I don't really see a team on their schedule that they can't beat. I mean, there's two at at the end that make you a little bit nervous in Notre Dame and Miami. But outside of that, it's going to be competitive. And how they finish games and if they can win those close games, that's going to tell if they have a good year or not.
And if you're a Pitt fan, your home slate is awesome. Louisville, Boston College, NC State, Notre Dame, Miami, all coming to your house. So buy your tickets and be in the stands for Pat Narduzzi's squad.
Y'all think that Pitt fan that kept yelling at me when we were at Pitt is watching the show?
He's watching right now.
For sure.
How you doing, sir?
Appreciate you.
Yeah.
Great to see you.
I didn't do anything wrong.
You guys were friends.
Well,
At
at
first,
first,
they were throwing the ball.
They
He was
lost the
throwing
game.
the ball with them.
Then he got mad at me.
Cussing us
I
out.
was like, sir, why you keep
Crazy.
yelling at me for?
It was a wild evening
it was
in
insane.
Pittsburgh, but
It
hopefully you
was
guys.
wild, bro.
It was
I was like, all right, now you got about 2 more times.
He thought you controlled the referees.
Yeah, I guess so, Coach.
did.
I was
You
inside
did.
eating some Cheetos. I don't know what it was, man. It was all good.
Tay, I have a little breaking news before we move on.
Okay, go for it.
So, Coach Brett Lashley, as you said, friend of the show,
Yes,
watching,
yes.
he let me know my comment about Missouri State. He just texted me and said, we did not have a choice. Similar to like Nevada last year, when you change leagues, there's not a lot of fast options to fill your schedule. We will never do this again as long as I'm the coach here. Got it? That's what he said to me. So he's a big fan of the show. He's watching. Thank you, Coach, for
Thanks,
clearing
Coach.
that up.
They're going to Missouri State, which
Correct.
seems wonky, but that's just the way the cookie crumbles when you're new to the ACC.
Oh, good.
Let's move on to Virginia Tech. Addie, because this is
About time, right?
another year.
I'm almost asleep. I'm like, man,
what time is it?
But I look at this schedule, and I cannot emphasize this enough. Obviously, South Carolina's at the top, but the first 4 games, Virginia Tech has to start fast.
Heard that last 6 years.
Who said
Here we are.
EJ, I know you did, bro. Y'all was 2-10. I don't want to hear it, right?
I can't
Look,
say
you,
much. You're right.
do have to start that.
November 15th.
South Carolina is a great measuring stick for you because one of the hottest teams in all of college football. Shane Beamer doing a heck of a job with them. But Vanderbilt, right? Those next 2 teams, you owe them some
Yeah, your
favor.
rival. Your rival. Yeah.
Yeah, whatever. And so ODU is one that I'm circling as an alum. Like you got to beat ODU, but still you got to win the games that you're supposed to win.
Yeah.
That's a starting point for Virginia Tech.
Virginia Tech made a hire today too, right? New defensive coordinator.
Yep.
What are you feeling?
I feel good. If they like it, I like it.
Sam
Yeah,
Steve Kiss is his name. So he
NFL guy,
ran the
right?
Glad you
defense.
said
Yes.
it because I had no clue how to.
Yeah, coming over from, I believe, the Arizona Cardinals to join
Is he the
Brett
one
Rice
that you
squad.
mentioned? Was it Walford at one time?
He was at Wofford, and they're on the.
And they
that's
play
why they
Wofford.
hired him.
Week
Yeah,
4.
To get the intel on the Terriers. Gosh dang it!
How do you feel, though, about this Hokie squad? Kyron Drones is coming back, and they do have some pieces to try to build off of a year that maybe some would consider a little bit disappointing, but they did take steps.
Yeah, you had Donovan Green to that receiving room from Wake Forest, which is a huge
Oh,
kid.
I didn't even know that.
That was huge.
Breaking news.
But the question mark is really the defensive side. You lose almost your entire secondary, some linebackers as well. You bring in-
Peoples, APR.
Yeah,
losing a
those
lot.
guys up front. And so Virginia Tech's been known to play good defense and special teams. And so the real question marks are about the defense. Drones will get that offense rolling. You lost a couple receivers as well, but they'll be fine. It's defensively is what I'm paying attention to.
Were they just like? This is the Eddie Royal show. Sorry. Were they just listening to the hype? Like, was it our fault? Why they struggled
Are we
so
the
much
problem?
last year? Because
So,
there was just so much. I was so excited, and then
All the
it fell
returning
so
production.
flat. It fell so flat.
There's a change in strength and conditioning coach.
Yeah.
They got a new guy, Jared Ferguson, a
Who's
former
been there,
player
right?
Yeah, I've been around him. Top notch, one of the best in the business. You'll see a different Virginia Tech team
You know-
because of him.
You know what I like the best about that team, though? Their head coach, Brent Pry. I mean, you want to have a guy that is a great fit for your university. This guy is a perfect fit for that place. They got to stay as patient as they can be, and I believe he's going to get the job.
yeah, that patience can run out, though, Coach. You know that.
quick.
They got to
Oh,
win. They got to win this year, seriously.
they
Those
do.
first 4,
Were they,
like you mentioned,
were they patient with Beamer's dad?
They were.
Oh yeah.
But he won some championships in there, too, though.
Right?
Yeah, about 10 years after he got
Fair.
True.
Different time, though.
True.
Different time.
It's also about the way you play as well. And I mentioned the home environments
question.
for Pitt. Miami and Louisville go to Blacksburg. So those will be raucous
Oh, it's gonna
Saturdays,
be lit.
probably
Oh,
night
We gotta
games,
go. We gotta go.
which will be
Please.
a ton of fun. So the fans can come out for those and support the
Where
Hokies.
else we got to go? Oh,
Kind of like
bring that back
Go
up.
for it,
Just
Lee.
throw it out there.
Virginia Tech did not meet expectation last year based on what we expected. Neither did NC State. So they're coming into this year trying to be better. Another guy in head coach, Dave Dorn, who's made changes at offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator. They had one leave, so they had to bring in a new one. Emac, what is your thought on the Pack right now?
Well, I never thought I'd ever say this, but I'm staring down August 28th, Thursday night versus ECU. it's an incredible game. I mean, you just got worked by them in the bowl game. There was a fight. I mean, that is a hated rivalry. People do not understand North Carolina football, triangle football. That game matters. It is a big, big deal. You did.
1989, I coached at East
Great
Carolina.
year.
I know what a big game is.
Yeah, and so what do you look like? Because that was embarrassing to lose that game. And I'm not going to say probably what I want to say, but that's a big deal. You have to
Twitter's
win
already
that.
coming for you. So
You have to win. Right.
Well,
Shout out.
Biggie, the first 4 of 7 games, all ACC matchups, and we saw Florida State have a similar type of schedule. That you get those ACC matchups early in the season.
Right.
That can be a good thing if you're rolling and you're playing really well,
Right.
or it can be a bad thing.
Right.
Because as we all know, ultimately you still want to win the conference.
Yeah.
And so that's going to be the key for them. As much as that ECU game is huge, you still got to be ready for the following week,
And-
to get some ACC wins.
And I will say a weird thing, that Virginia game right there, just because it's confusing for everybody at home watching, that is actually a non-conference game. They went outside of the scope to schedule that. So I totally agree with you saying, and it's a Power 14, but it is fascinating that they're going to do that. But you look at the finish there against North Carolina, a game that NC State has owned. They have dominated North Carolina recently when you see what they're doing. And you don't think there's some extra juice with that? Bill Belichick being there and Dave Doran wanting to be the best NFL coach ever? Sprinkle it up. There's a little bit more there.
Just a challenging schedule, and the question mark is who is NC State, and that's not something I thought I would ever ask with Dave Doran as the head coach. And so you got your quarterback coming back. Typically they play good defense and they're a tough, hard-nosed team.
Correct.
And it seemed like ever since they lost Peyton Wilson, the identity left with him.
Right.
And so now somebody's got to step up on that defensive side of the ball to really be that guy. CJ Bailey's going to give you an opportunity to win every game, but that defense in the run game has to step up.
I totally agree with you. And they listen, they went on a crazy run with personnel. When you look at Drake Thomas, you look at Isaiah Moore, and then Peyton Wilson. When those guys all finally left, you're right. There was this void. And now Tony Gibson, defensive coordinator's gone, headed to Marshall, thank you, to be their head coach. There's going to be some interesting things going on that side of the ball for sure.
Playmaker. You lose Casey. He was such a vital part to that offense.
Yeah.
Who's going to be the playmaker?
Noah Rogers is going to step up big, I think. Joe Lee's still there. There's some young Hollywood is there, the running back.
With Smothers,
Yes, there's some piece, and you got a quarterback. I mean, C.J. Bailey
He's a
should be
baller.
nice.
He's
So,
big
time.
but you have
The
to
pieces
let them
were
do
there
it.
last year.
Exactly, you have to let them play. It can't just be we're going to be vanilla offensively and play hard-nosed defense. Let the playmakers eat. Force the ball downfield, take some chances. As a defensive coach doesn't want to do, right? Like he hates that, but you got to let it happen.
Gibby, their former defensive coordinator, now the head coach at Marshall. As you mentioned, DJ Elliott is taking over as the defensive coordinator.
coach.
Kurt Roper.
Oh, really? You
is
coached
the
me at Florida State.
offensive
With
coordinator.
us at Florida State.
Yeah, so they have some new names there. Kurt Roper's been on staff as the quarterback's coach. He will now take over as OC. So a new day and age for NC State as they move forward, trying to be better than they were last year. Boston College year 2 coming right up for Bill O'Brien and the Eagles. We were at that BC Michigan State game there in Chestnut Hill last year, and it was crazy. BC wound up winning it. They get Sparty early at Sparty.
Yeah, I mean, this is going to be a huge game. More so because you figure out the quarterback position, which they left, Thomas Castellanos, he
Right.
moved on.
They
as
picked
of
him,
Florida
right? I
State.
mean, they picked James. So
Yeah.
they feel good about him.
Yeah, so, I mean, this is a solid start. They beat Michigan State last year. Now you have a home-to-home. You go to their house this year. So, again, I mean, how do you start? I do like where the open dates are. It's kind of open in the sense of, like, one's early, again, in September. Then you don't have another one until the second week, second to last week at the end of the season. But, let's see what they can do.
And I think it is fascinating. You look at the finish there, starting with Clemson on October 11th, then UConn, who was a 9-10 win team last year, at Louisville. Notre Dame comes to town. SMU comes to town. Georgia Tech comes to town. You have that bye. And then you're at Syracuse. That is a brutal stretch there of really good teams, very talented teams. 3 playoff teams from a year ago that you have coming to your house. So like you said, buy the tickets. But that's going to be tough.
They have to start fast. If you want to make a bowl game, you got to start fast because, like you said, that's a rough stretch. 8 in a row of just tough games, and we know the way that they like to play. It's going to be ground and pound. This defense has to be really good, but that's a rough schedule for Boston College.
And I think Grayson James is a much better fit for Coach O'Brien.
Correct.
than Castellanos was.
Correct.
We all know that. We knew he fit the mold of what he was what he's used to having in the NFL, the type of guys that he wants to work from the pocket mostly.
Right.
And make those decisions back there. So I think he's got the QB he wants, so it's going to help them a lot.
In terms of statistics, I already said Syracuse in the ACC has the toughest schedule. Boston College is up there second. So theirs is brutal as well. You guys
Really?
just
I would
rattled
have thought it
off
was
that
Florida
stretch.
State. They're
No,
second. Wow.
Boston College is up there,
Yeah.
number 2.
You may think it.
We already talked about Bill
I
Belichick
cannot
is the
wait
new
till the
man in
15th. I
town
cannot wait for that.
in Chapel Hill. But how about in Winston-Salem? Jake Dickert is the new man in
33.
charge
Great
for
number.
Wake Forest. We'll break down the Deke
hire.
schedule, talk about this hire. EJ says it's great next on your ACC Huddle schedule release show.
We'll be right back.